A baby shower is meant to be a celebration, a gathering of family and friends to welcome a new life with joy and hope. But sometimes, an invitation isn't a request for your presence, but a demand for your forgiveness. For one family, a simple, pastel-colored card became a declaration of war, and when one woman quietly declined, she unknowingly lit the fuse on a conflict that had been simmering for 5 long years. Her simple "no" became a rallying cry, and soon, an entire family stood behind her, leaving a mother to be to face an empty room. The story begins, as many do, with a wedding. About 5 years ago, a young woman's brother married a woman named Ruby. In the beginning, everything was perfect. Ruby was charming and kind, and she fit into the family seamlessly. She was so well liked, in fact, that both our storyteller and her older sister were asked to be a part of her bridal party. They stood beside her as she said her vows, smiling for pictures, completely unaware of the darkness that lay ahead. It was a happy time, full of promise for the future. Soon after the wedding, the newlyweds began talking about starting a family of their own. But the months turned into years, and the journey proved to be far more difficult than they had ever imagined. They were facing the heartbreaking struggle of infertility, and the weight of it began to change Ruby. The once bright and cheerful woman became withdrawn and fragile. The family tried to be understanding, to give her space and support as she navigated her private grief. And here's where the first crack appeared. While Ruby was struggling, her older sister-in-law, who was 26 at the time, announced that she was pregnant. It was happy news for the family, but for Ruby, it was a match to a tinderbox of jealousy and pain. Her demeanor toward her pregnant sister-in-law turned sharp and cold. She became snappish, her words laced with a bitterness that made everyone uncomfortable. The family walked on eggshells, trying to be mindful of Ruby's feelings, but her resentment was a palpable force in any room she entered. When the baby was finally born, a beautiful, healthy child, Ruby offered no congratulations. She sent no card, no gift, no acknowledgement at all. It was a silence that spoke volumes, a clear message of her profound unhappiness. A couple of years later, our storyteller found herself in an unexpected situation. She was in her senior year of college when she discovered she was pregnant. It was an oops baby, a complete surprise that threw her life into a tailspin. Unsure of what to do or how to handle it, she confided only in her mother. She wasn't ready to tell the rest of the family. But secrets in a close family rarely stay secret for long. She had always been a social drinker at family events, so when she started refusing wine at a get-together, her grandmother noticed. With a playful laugh, her grandma joked, "You're not drinking? You must be pregnant." Our storyteller's face betrayed her instantly. A flush of panic and surprise was all the confirmation the family needed. And just like that, her secret was out. What should have been a moment of surprise, perhaps even awkwardness, quickly spiraled into something much, much worse. Ruby exploded. It wasn't just anger, it was a torrent of pure, unadulterated rage. She stood up and began screaming, her voice shaking with fury. She pointed a finger at her shocked sister-in-law and yelled about how she, a young college student with an unplanned pregnancy, didn't deserve a child when she, Ruby, had been trying for so long. The names she called her were vicious and cruel, each one designed to inflict maximum pain. Her mother, seeing her daughter being verbally assaulted, immediately stepped in, telling Ruby to stop. But Ruby's rage was a wildfire, and it simply found a new target. She turned on her mother-in-law, her eyes blazing. And then, she said something so monstrous, so unforgivable, that it sucked all the air out of the room. She looked at the woman who had tried to welcome her into the family and brought up the most painful event of her life. A stillbirth she had suffered years before. Ruby screamed that she deserved what had happened to her. The entire gathering fell into a stunned, horrified silence. A line had been crossed from which there was no coming back. The aftermath was a cold war of avoidance and passive aggression. Our storyteller gave birth to a healthy child and, like any proud new mother, posted pictures online. A short time later, a cryptic post appeared on Ruby's social media feed. It read simply, "Some people don't deserve kids." There was no ambiguity. Everyone knew exactly who it was about. Through all of this, from the screaming fit to the online jabs, Ruby never offered a single word of apology. She never expressed remorse for the things she said or the pain she caused. She simply expected everyone else to move on. And that brings us to today. After all these years, Ruby is finally pregnant. The family learned the news, and soon, invitations arrived for her baby shower. All the women in the family were invited to celebrate the impending arrival. Our storyteller held the invitation in her hand, the cheerful script a stark contrast to the ugly memories it conjured. She spoke with her mother, and they both came to the same quiet conclusion. They would not go. The wounds were too deep, the words too cruel to be simply papered over with party games and cake. They both RSVP'd no. Now, you might be thinking this was a personal decision between two people and the host. But their refusal sent a ripple through the entire family. It turned out, no one had forgotten what Ruby had done. No one had forgotten the venom she spat at a young, scared pregnant woman, or the unthinkable cruelty she directed at a grieving mother. One by one, as other family members heard that our storyteller and her mother weren't going, they followed suit. The no RSVPs began to pile up. The phone call came a few days later. It was her brother. He was frantic. He said his wife was devastated, spending her days crying because she felt hated by his entire family. He told her that Ruby just wanted everyone to make up and be a family again. He pleaded with his sister to just come to the shower, to suck it up for a few hours for the sake of peace. She refused. Calmly, she told him that his wife's feelings were not her problem. This situation, this family-wide boycott, was a direct consequence of Ruby's own actions. It was a mess of her own making. The argument that followed was tense and circular. He couldn't understand why she wouldn't just let it go. She couldn't understand how he could ask her to. Since that call, he has texted her multiple times, begging her to reconsider, to be the bigger person. She now understands the position she's in. She has become the unintentional leader of this protest. She knows that if she doesn't go, no one else will. Her mother, especially, will never set foot in a party for the woman who used her deepest trauma as a weapon. The family has drawn a line, and they are all standing behind her. This isn't just about a party anymore. It's about accountability. Both she and her older sister have a strict rule. If you are cruel to them, you do not get access to their children. They have a duty to protect their kids from that kind of toxicity. And their mother feels the same way. Unless something drastically changes, unless a profound and sincere apology is made, Ruby's child will be born into a family, but may never know its aunts, its cousins, or even one of its grandmothers. On one hand, you have a woman whose long and painful struggle with infertility clearly caused her immense emotional distress, leading her to lash out in ways she might not have otherwise. Her desire for a child was so powerful that seeing others achieve it so easily broke something inside of her. But on the other hand, pain is an explanation, not an excuse. The things she said were not just angry, they were surgically cruel, aimed at the most vulnerable parts of the people who tried to love her. She weaponized a mother's grief over a lost child. Is it the family's responsibility to build the bridge back to her, for the sake of the innocent baby on the way? Or has Ruby burned that bridge so completely that she is the only one who can be expected to rebuild it, piece by painful piece? Starting with the apology she has refused to give for 5 years? We want to know what you would have done in this situation. Let us know in the comments.